Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Another Thursday, another episode of Simply Sessions. Nico is waiting in the wings to give us the latest and greatest in Bitcoin news, and we're going to be hitting the tech updates after that. I hope you're all having a good week. It's been exciting, lots of stuff going on, and perhaps I might be seeing some of you next week down in El Salvador. Very much looking forward to that. My first time there, but we'll talk about that later in the show. Of course, this is live. Anything can happen, so I defer to my friend Bill here.
Live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
If you have not already, please do like, subscribe, share, all those things. They help a ton getting this content in front of more eyeballs. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session. Simply session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
Before we bring in Nico, let's take a quick look at where we are in the market today. I'm pulling up timechaincalendar.com, and simultaneously I'm going to be pulling up the live chat so that everything you say from here on in will be live for the world to see, for better or worse. First up, Timechain Calendar. We're sitting at $70,718 per coin. A single US dollar will grab you 1,414 sats. In terms of fees, next block, 36 sats per byte, a little bit higher than last few days here. Anytime, 10 sats per byte. And Bitcoin mined, 19.67 million of them. That is 93.65% of the total supply. And that flashing ring around the outside there, that denotes how damn close we are to the halving. We're about 22 days and 19 hours out. It's looking to hit around April 20th. At 11:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Exciting stuff. Shout out to sponsor of the show, HodlHodl.com. If you're buying Bitcoin and you have some priorities in mind that include peer-to-peer trading, instant self-custody, no KYC, this is a super awesome place to do it. Sign up with nothing more than an email address. Once you're in, choose a currency, payment method, and an amount. You can start viewing offers immediately. They also have peer-to-peer lending with no rehypothecation. Links down below. When you do get your hands on some sats, you're going to want to secure them with some of the best hardware on the market. CoinKite kills it with everything they do. The queue is absolutely awesome. I just saw that my huge order of a ton of them just shipped, so I'm very excited about that. Of course, the Mark IV is a classic. The tap signer, all their goodies. You can head over to coinkite.com, use code BTC Sessions for a nice little discount at checkout. Backups are important as well. Seedor has one of the most beautifully designed and robust steel backup systems on the market to secure your seed phrase from the elements, fire, water, corrosion, all that. They have full starter sets so that you can stamp 1 or 2 seeds, and you can always swap out the discs if you need. Nico's laughing backstage. Swap out the dicks if you need to change out the information. Anyways, check them out. There's links down below for the best shipping options for you. Nunchuk has you covered for assisted multisig. Their Honey Badger program allows you to set up a multisig quorum on your mobile device with things like tap sign and cold card, plenty of other hardware options. Once it's all set up, you also have baked-in inheritance planning to get your sats to your next of kin if anything should happen to you. And the whole thing can be done without KYC. You can check them out today at nunchuk.io. And last shout out to Start9, your sovereign computing solution. These guys have plug-and-play devices so that you can host not only your Bitcoin stack, but your digital life. You can run things like Bitcoin Core, your Lightning node, mempool.space, Join Market. You can also host files, passwords, photos, and plenty more, including AI tools, Nostr realizing clients, you name it, they got it. Check them out at start9.com. And one of my favorite things, of course, that they do is they have different options for your preference. So they have beginner and entry-level devices all the way up to the Start9 Server Pure, which I'm running. If you check them out at start9.com, use code BTC Sessions with a plus sign, and you can grab that Server Pure for 18% off. Anyways, with that, enough of my rambling. Let's get in Nico here. Yo, buddy. Good to see you.
Yo, No, dude. Okay. So I was telling you before the show, I'm like, dude, I can't hook this up to my YouTube channel. I can't hook it up to my X, to the Twitter. I'm like, what's going on? And then I'm like, okay, I got to share the screen, get ready for the show. And I realized I was using the Brave browser. So that's why it's not on the Simply Bitcoin channel, the Simply Twitter. And I dropped back in on the Chrome browser. So everything should be good now. But yeah, that was a little bit of a drop on my part. But happy to be here, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah,
Simply
all
Sessions.
good, man. Glad to see you. And we're gonna be hanging out tip to tip down in El Salvador. And
we're gonna bump the dicks, bro.
if you have no idea what we're talking about, go back and watch the Christmas show with Kaiser. It was one for the ages.
Hey, sure. You said it first, bro. You said it first.
Love it, man. Awesome. Well, dude, let's dive into what's been going on. I'll bring up your screen here. What's been top of mind? What's happened in the Bitcoin space lately?
Yeah, dude. I mean, bro. So one of the things that I've been noticing, basically across the world, is in the developing world specifically, is that people don't necessarily buy Bitcoin even in these countries with like crazy amounts of inflation. What they're going towards is USDT and USDC. They're flocking to stable coins, right? This is the first time I've seen this type of article, and it was huge. And again, this doesn't just come from a, quote unquote, run of the mill kind of crypto, quote unquote, crypto publication. This is Bloomberg. And the headline for the audio listeners is Bitcoin is trumping dollars for many inflation wary Argentines. That is a big effing deal, right? Mm-hmm. So move over stable coins. Argentines, or at least some Argentines, are picking Bitcoin instead. So here are some of the details. It says Argentines are buying Bitcoin to protect themselves from the 276% inflation instead of rushing to exchange pesos for dollars, upending a timeless strategy that made the crisis-prone country one of the top places for greenbacks in the world. Bitcoin purchases in Argentina, one of the nations with the highest level of cryptocurrency adoption globally, approached their highest weekly value in 20 months at a local cryptocurrency exchange, Lemon, the most popular among retail customers in the South American country. Argentines are looking for ways to survive a recession and one of the world's highest inflation rates as President Javier Milei implements his shock therapy policies intended to reset the economy. Exchanges pesos for dollars, the main safe haven for decades, has lost some of its appeal in the past 2 months as the commonly used parallel exchange rate has strengthened 10% against the dollar, while Bitcoin has rallied almost 60% against the greenback over the same period. Lemon recorded almost 35,000 customer transactions to buy Bitcoin in the week ending March 10th, doubled the weekly average last year. The behavior was similar to that of customers of other major exchanges in Argentina, such as Repo and Bello. A major driver behind the stronger peso in recent weeks is Malay's tight grip of the amount of money in circulation, not letting it grow while the central bank rebuilds its stockpile of cash dollars. Volume and Bitcoin and Ether have increased tenfold so far in 2024 compared to the same period last year at digital wallet Bello, the CEO said. He noted that purchases, stablecoins, crypto assets often tied to currencies like the US dollar have fallen to 60 from 70% over that period as Bitcoin's rally lured in more buyers. Quote, the users decided to buy Bitcoin when they see the news that the currency is going up, while stablecoin is more pragmatic and many times used for transactional purposes as a vehicle to make payments abroad. Okay, so kind of like breaking this down, number go up technology is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And even, in a country where it does not have a stable currency whatsoever, people can't resist number go up. They see Bitcoin going up and they say, you know what? F these greenbacks. I want to get myself some Bitcoin. So this is a great trend and I hope it continues.
Awesome. It's nice to see. And again, I think you'll see the ebbs and flows as the market changes over time. I don't think we're hitting hyper Bitcoinization quite yet, but people will begin to recognize over longer periods of time that, as Bitcoiners have realized, hey, like if this is anything beyond what I'm using day to day, it only makes sense to not have it in dollars. Like dollars are just like a smooth path to less purchasing power, where Bitcoin is a volatile path to eternal riches and other things. And so like during a bull run, of course, more people are going to flock to it. But like, this is a nice, especially in a place like Argentina, people are beginning to kind of wake up and say like, huh, this thing actually goes up, whereas everything else goes down over time here. And so, they're uniquely positioned to understand that fiat currency is a losing game.
100%. And I think that they understand it on an inherent level. And, and I think that's, you're right. We're not at hyper Bitcoinization yet, but I hope that this trend continues. And I see someone in the chat, Viva la libertad, carajo. So, that Javier Milei, I guess, political slogan. Anyways, another news. Greenpeace absolutely getting wrecked once again. We always say on Simply Sessions that it's the party of orange versus the party of green. It's just ironic that it's Greenpeace, right? Anyways, I'm a dad now, so I have dad jokes. So anyways, it says breaking: Greenpeace just released an explosive new report exposing the deep ties between the fossil fuel industry, right-wing climate deniers, and the growing lobbying network pushing a plan to save dirty coal and gas plants with Bitcoin. Read now. Now, the beautiful part about X is that they added the community notes now. So whether you're a central banker or a politician lying about inflation or any of these things, you get literally fact-checked in real time by the Bitcoin community. The community note says the article contains many factual errors, like the flawed per transaction accounting of energy and outdated and inaccurate information, such as the proportion of fossil fuels used as energy source. Nowadays, the majority of the energy used by Bitcoin mining is renewable. So, I mean, talk about BS, bro.
Yeah. It's hilarious that Greenpeace continues to, again, they don't care if what they're saying has been debunked over and over again. They've just got whatever their agenda happens to be. Like that, like no amount of fact checking is going to stop them from just saying, no, but it's bad though. It's bad. It has to be bad because we've said it's bad. And if we change our minds, then what would that say about us? And so they just continue down this path. I love the community notes. I think it's just chef's kiss, the best. And I mean, even the hilarious thing is in the image, they've got the piece of art that guy made. And even the artist who made it realized that Greenpeace was wrong on their stance on Bitcoin. Like, it's super, super funny. It's great.
Dude, the artist, right? The artist himself, he's like, well, I didn't know this stuff. This Bitcoin stuff is actually pretty dope, which I think that, like, you buried the lead there a little bit, Ben, because I think it highlights the fact that the party of green is relying on the basically people's lack of knowledge on Bitcoin in order to propagate these false narratives, and in order to try to convince people of things that aren't so.
Yeah, I like the comment here from Hammers. He said the artist realized he was a pawn. Yes, indeed. And I mean, my other favorite thing about this is that Greenpeace is basically pissed away the $5 million that they got from Ripple. Like they great job, guys. Like they got that money and accomplished nothing. Like when you look at the change the code, whatever Twitter handle, like all of the engagement was just Bitcoiners calling them assholes, like fact checking them, and like nobody cared about anything. Like they literally accomplished nothing. And as people pointed out, they kept on saying change the code, but they didn't even get anybody to write any code. So like, what are you actually doing there?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting It's interesting to say the least. They could always fork it, right? They could change the code and fork it, but you're going to have to convince people to run that code, right? Yeah. That's not what they're trying to say. They want the government to step in and coerce people to use the changed code, right? That's the part that they don't say. Yeah. So anyways, Greenpeace, it's the green part makes sense. The peace part, not so much. Yeah. Anyways, in other news, SBF sentenced today to 25 years in prison for fraud. Here's a little bit more details. Sam Bankman-Fried orchestrated one of the largest financial frauds in history, stealing over $8 billion of his customers' funds. His deliberate and ongoing lies demonstrated a brazen disregard for customers' expectations and disrespect for the rule of law. All so that he could secretly use his customers' money to expand his own power and influence. Judge Kaplan also ruled Bankman-Fried's forfeited assets worth $11.02 billion can be used to help fund the repayment of victims of the FTX collapse. Quote, he knew it was wrong. He knew it was criminal. He regrets that he made a very bad bet about the likelihood of getting caught, but he is not going to admit a thing, as is his right. He goes on to say, today's sentence will prevent the defendant from ever again committing fraud and is an important message to others who might be tempted to engage in financial crimes, that justice will be swift and the consequences will be severe. Okay, you say that. The consequences will be severe, the justice will be swift, all of this, all of that. Bernie Madoff got 150 years. Yeah. Ross Ulbricht is still in jail. Julian Assange the U.S. government is trying to extradite him to the U.S. I mean, and if you compare and contrast the damage that SBF has done to people compared to someone like Julian Assange, someone like Ross Ulbricht, there's no comparison. It's complete. It's like night and day. So could it be, and no way to know this for sure, I'm just saying it feels like a very big coincidence. Could it be that he donated to political parties? Could it be that he was the wonder child? Could it be that Jim Cramer was calling him the next Roosevelt or whatever, the banker? Like, could it be that the Wall Street Journal held literally while this guy was accused of fraud and what's the guy's name? James Sorkin or something, the journalist, Andrew Sorkin. Thanks, Ben. And he introduced him and the crowd started clapping for him. Like, even though this guy stole like billions of dollars, there was this like very famous comment of this mother that was like, I lost my life savings to this. Mm-hmm. Like, and someone in the chat, right? Again, kind of a coincidence. Ross Ulbricht turned 40 years old the day that SBF was sentenced. Yeah. So, I mean, 25 years, but let's not forget, that Ross is still in jail. So, it's man, what justice I got to say is what justice is here? What justice? Two-tier justice is what I would say. Two-tier justice.
And I gotta agree with some of the people in the chat. They're saying like he's gonna get paroled early. He's gonna for sure 25 is probably like the initial sentence. He'll be a good little boy in there and get some nods and some favors and he'll be out. He'll get to enjoy, in my opinion, probably the majority of his life out of prison. He'll have a chunk of his life in prison, but I don't think he's going to serve the full 25 years by any means.
I 100% agree. And so that whole, speech about the judge and the justice and all that, I don't know, man.
I will say at least there's jail happening. I feel like their hands were forced. Like they had to do something about it because of the scale of it. But they were really trying to paint him as it was like, can you remember some of the articles, some of the fluff pieces about him? It was all just a big accident, like poor guy. Go fuck yourself. He literally just took people's money, bought Bahamas real estate in between orgies with his disgusting group of people in his business, and then people thought they owned Bitcoin, and he was just like writing numbers on a screen and buying shit with all their stuff, and like had no idea where anything was just whatever. It's going up forever. We'll just do anything we want. Like, go fuck yourself. Like anybody that tried to white knight SBF. And that also goes for Michael Lewis, the guy who like wrote the book about him. He wrote The Big Short, and his opinion on SBF has forever tainted that, unfortunately, for me. Great movie, great book, but the one that he wrote in and around SBF, like he basically was like, well, it's just he was very apologetic for SBF.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I saw that. He was like apologetic. He's like, you don't understand. It's like, I do understand, but like, oh man, maybe it's just, he was so biased because he got so he was like writing the book, and like 90% of the book like was done. And then all of a sudden he's like, this guy's actually a criminal. Yeah. So
yeah, he like dropped the book, and then like it becomes incredibly clear how that must have been like, all right, this thing just went to the printers. Oh no.
Oh man, yeah, bro. So anyways, for anyone who's listening, smash the like button. I apologize to the Simply Bitcoin audience. I literally was on the Brave browser, but we'll be back Simply Sessions next week live from El Salvador, and I'll make sure to have it on the Simply Twitter and the Simply YouTube account as well.
All good.
So
it happens.
So live Simply Sessions from the shining country on a hill, El Salvador. That should be a lot of fun. Anyways, okay. So in other news, you guys know that I love the term Overton Window. Well, it's shifting. We're living in time. What's the very famous decade? There are decades where nothing happened, and then there are weeks where decades happen. Okay. And this is exactly what we're living through. We're living through, a lot of people call it the fourth turning, this very tumultuous era in human history. And I found this really interesting because, what I got to say about this? I got to say that Ron Paul was right. Should have listened to Ron Paul when he was dropping the fire, 15 years ago. He was right. You know how everyone says Alex Jones was right? Well, a Bitcoiner is going to say Ron Paul was right instead. Anyways, so let's check out this clip from Tucker.
I had that experience. I was just saying off air at one of your speeches probably 20 years ago. I'd never seen you speak before, and you went off about the Federal Reserve. And I remember thinking, what an esoteric subject. I knew nothing about it. I thought only crazy people cared. But again, I was completely ignorant about monetary policy at the time. And I was shocked by how much the crowd loved it. They were completely tuned in. They thought it was really important. Why would the average person 20 years ago have a better sense of that than, say, me, who was paid to follow the subject but wasn't? How did people know?
I got it from literature. You could read about it. We didn't have an internet. We didn't have the radio or TV giving us good information, but it was out there. For one group that helped me a whole lot was Leonard Reed, the Foundation for Economic Education.
Yes.
I knew him, and he was a true believer. He was a dignified person and very likable, and he talked about process, how you reach people, and but he was very, very libertarian in his own way, but he was sort of an intellectual, and he influenced me a lot. So I read everything he did, and he did a lot of literature, but the follow-up of that was, of course, the Mises Institute, and and I was part of that, and I think, I think they're important people. I know people on TV are really important.
Oh, so important.
So important, but there are a lot of people that are important. I think the ideas are the most important.
So, I mean, like, how deep is that? How deep is that, like, that whole thing? The people knew inherently 20 years ago that something was wrong with the Federal Reserve, right? But someone who was a professional in media looked away, right? They said, you're a kook. There's nothing wrong with the Federal Reserve. Now, from a historical standpoint, think about how much has changed in terms of the public perception for someone like Tucker with his following to be like, dude, like, you were right. Like, this is crazy. Like, something's going on here. We've made so much progress. I would like to believe, and perhaps I'm extremely biased, that Bitcoin has played a huge role in at least shining a light on the scam that is central banking. But for this type of conversation to be had in kind of mainstream discourse, and then I'll add something on top of that to kind of prove that we're actually making tremendous amount of progress. For the first time in human history, a libertarian candidate was elected as president in Argentina, and literally part of his campaign rhetoric was taking an effing chainsaw and literally chainsawing a central bank in half. We've made so much progress kind of exposing this money racket, this cartel. And I think that this small clip is just another example of just that.
It does make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside to know that, you know, Ron Paul in his early days, well, like, you know, 20 years ago, where people just didn't understand, a lot of people other than people around him and some like niche groups didn't understand this. And like you said, for it to be blasted out there all over the place, and like, you know, you have central bank digital currencies as election issues. You have, like you said, libertarian candidates in Argentina being elected as president. You have a country that is opting into sound money as a legal tender. You're having all of these things happen, and you have a populace that maybe doesn't yet know exactly how things are working, because really, like, it's obfuscation through complexity, right? Like, they just make everything so complicated that, oh, you couldn't possibly understand this. It's way too complex. Don't worry, we got it. Like, that's been the tactic. But meme culture has boiled it down to very simplistic terms that everybody can understand. Money printer go burr, right? Like that wasn't even a Bitcoin meme, right? Like that came out of like the whole Wall Street bets, like in and around that. It became common vernacular for people to talk about money printer go burr, and they like are making fun of the fact that our central banks just have no control over the monetary base. And so it's being memed into recognition, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. And I've got to say, Ron Paul must be so happy to see so much progress being made. I hope he continues to live on to see even more happen, because I think we're at the beginning of the the suddenly. We're at the beginning of the suddenly, and I hope he gets to see most of the suddenly.
100%. I hope so too. He's still going strong, and he still has his own show on YouTube, and it's kicking ass, right? So I hope so too. I hope he sees that so-called bright orange future. And he did mention this when he spoke at Bitcoin 2021. He's like, I'm so happy that so many young people are he's like, I might not understand Bitcoin 100%, but I understand freedom. And what I'm seeing here is a lot of young people asking and wanting freedom, right? So, but he's a legend, man. He started it all, really. And a lot of people laughed him out of the room for it. Anyways, I do kind of on a very similar topic. And as a first generation American, we are sold on this idea of you come to the US, and Ben, I'm sure you've heard this. It's a very kind of famous, pitch on the US all over the world. You're pitched on the US that, this is the country of opportunity. You can come here with nothing, and if you work really effing hard, you could live out your dreams. I think that is just being completely annihilated by this type of BS. House passes $1.2 trillion spending bill. That's trillion with a T, by the way. That's more than the GDP of a lot of countries. And just to kind of give you a visual representation of what that means, here's a stack of $10,000 bills. Here's $1 million. Here's a guy guy next to $1 million. Here's a guy next to $100 million, about a pallet. of $100 bills. Here's a guy next to $1 billion. It's about 10 pallets. Here's the same guy next to $1 trillion. That's 2 football fields next to each other, and the pallets are stacked on top of each other. They're double stacked. That's just to kind of give you an idea of how much $1 trillion is compared to $1 billion, right? So they're stealing this. They're stealing time from people. We always say on Simply Sessions, every time they print money, it's a wealth redistribution mechanism from the lower and middle classes, which tend to be the younger generations that don't have the means to save in assets, to the very wealthy and back to the government. The wealthy benefit from the money printing because every time they print money, there's asset inflation. The price of assets go up. And it's not that they're getting richer per se. It's that at least their purchasing power is somewhat protected. And what this is it's theft. I think I saw it was Robert Breedlove on Peter McCormack's podcast. And he he did the actual calculation. And all the printing that they've done over the last 5 years equates to stealing the working hours of 3.2 million people. If you do the math from the age of 18 to the age of 65, that's how much time they've stolen with this printing. And what does that do? It outprices a lot of people that are trying to get their first home. And I'm sure you felt this pain. I'm definitely feeling this pain, right? We didn't have the opportunities, the same opportunities that our parents had. Here is Professor Galloway, and he posts, buying a home in 1985 versus 2022. Right. So the baby boomers, the average salary is $23,000. The home was $83,000. Millennials, the average salary is $74,000. I think that's a little bit on the high side, to be honest. And then the medium home price, $468,000. Right. Absolutely absurd. Now, this all seems dark and it's like, this is kind of sucks and this is dark and whatever. But then that's when I came to a realization when I saw this. And I said, the American dream isn't dead. You just aren't on a Bitcoin standard. And then I came to another realization, which is it's not the American dream anymore if you're on a Bitcoin standard. It's the Bitcoin dream. The American dream is now exported everywhere around the world. It doesn't matter where you are. If you've been living on a Bitcoin standard, housing has actually gotten cheaper. So while things continue to melt in fiat world and how things become unaffordable, they become hard to reach, there's something to remember that if you're on the orange life raft, you're protected from the madness. And just to kind of give a little bit more graphs to kind of, point out to what I'm trying to make, trying to show the point that I'm trying to make. Here's the M2 money supply. Here's, the pandemic. They printed money like crazy. And take a look at this. Isn't that a coincidence how housing prices just kind of went up? It's almost as if it's correlated to the amount of money that they printed, right? So the American dream is not dead. It's living. And it's not the American dream anymore. It's the Bitcoin dream. And anywhere around the world, doesn't matter where you are, you can be living this dream if you adopt the Bitcoin standard.
I love it. I mean, it's true. Again, if you're able to, I parrot these 3 points all the time. You're able to 1, create value for others, 2, spend less than you earn, and 3, save in Bitcoin. You are going to be having a standard of living that continues to increase at an accelerated pace. And on top of that, you're also going to form very good habits in and around how you spend your money. You're going to be a little bit more conscientious about what you're purchasing, because you are going to have a degree of, do I want to spend this money on this particular thing? Is it going to last me for a long time? Because I don't want to waste my money that is actually now valuable and will hold value and accrue value over time. I don't want to waste it on something that is inferior, that won't actually give me the gratification that I'm looking for, right? It's not that people won't seek out gratification and get things that they like and purchase items, but they're just going to scrutinize a little bit more. They're going to say, do I want this? is it good quality? Is it going to last me a long time? And I think what goes away is the consumer culture of just buying shit just to buy shit. And, oh, it broke, I'll just get another one. Whatever, I'll just get a crappy one. I'll just, if it breaks, whatever, I can just get a new one. No, it'll be, I want a quality one. I want it to be good. If something breaks, people will fix it like we used to. And it's going to shift the entire culture.
100%. It's going to change the mindset of people. It's going to change the culture, fix the money, fix the world. 100% agree. And it makes me hopeful, man. And I hope this optimism that Bitcoin, gives to everyone who adopts a Bitcoin standard. I can't wait for this to be exported worldwide, right? This type of mentality that if you work hard enough, you can save, you have the opportunity to save for the future, which I think fiat money and inflation robs. It takes that opportunity away from people. Anyways, I do want to cover this. This is like kind of big news, specifically coming out of the European Union. This is a trend that we've seen can happen for over the last couple months to a year. We've been on top of this. The hostility towards anonymity, the hostility towards Bitcoin in the European Union as they're simultaneously rolling out their central bank digital currency. So in the article, it goes on to say, in a divisive move, the European Union has implemented stricter measures to combat money laundering, aiming to safeguard financial transactions effectively. The recent directive prohibits the use of crypto wallets lacking clear proof of ownership, emphasizing transparency in these transactions. The new rule aims to eliminate the cloak of anonymity surrounding the certain crypto transactions, ensuring closer scrutiny to prevent illicit finance. Approved by the EU's Parliament Top Committee on March 19th, it mandates that all crypto payments must be traceable back to real-life identities. In addition to regulating crypto, the EU has controls on cash dealings. Transactions exceeding 10,000 euros are now illegal, with private transfers capped at 3,000 euros. These measures seek to prevent the concealment of funds and enhance oversight over significant financial movements. While many support the EU's proactive approach, I want to meet who is supporting this. Criticism has emerged. Some European Parliament members expressed concerns about the impact on individual freedoms and financial privacy. They argue that stringent regulations could hinder economic activities and limit financial autonomy. Critics suggest that while tackling financial crimes is crucial, banning anonymous payments might not be the most effective solution. So here's the thing. Criminals don't follow the law already. So what this is going to affect the most is the average everyday person. And again, the demonization of anonymous, like you can't be anonymous. Like why is that criminalized? Like I don't understand. Right. Yeah. So, but look, I don't know how they're going to enforce this whatsoever. And this is a one-way door, right? Once someone's going to exit the system, they're going to go on a Bitcoin standard and they're going to be like, you know what? It's a lot nicer over here. You guys should keep your gilded golden cage. You guys could have fun with it. I'm going to stay here.
Yeah. And I wanted to outline something about this. So I was looking into it and, some of this is in and around specifically from exchanges to external wallets. So like this relates back to what was it? Was it Micah? I can't remember what it was. It was Mika. In and around Mika, the Mika rules. So when transferring, how they want to basically have proof that you own a particular wallet when you send out in an exchange. So like those that, what was it, 10,000 and 3,000, those were in and around cash, but they're basically looking at, if you're sending Bitcoin off of an exchange, obviously it's going to be really fucking impossible to enforce anything around like a person with a Bitcoin wallet sending to another person with a Bitcoin wallet. But like, this is where the slippery slope comes in. Like right now it's, if you're using an exchange, like here's some shit that you now have to comply with. But like that slope of like, well, if it's over this amount and you're sending to your own wallet, we're going to need proof that it is indeed your wallet turns gradually into, register your wallet, register your private keys if it gets moved, or you can't, it gets us eventually to a place where app stores within certain jurisdictions begin to have only approved wallets, and they're KYC'd and all that kind of stuff. So the point here is that all of these proposed rules and these things that the EU is leaning towards, and other jurisdictions and people like Elizabeth Warren are leaning towards, if you don't fight back against them, or you don't build tools that just fully subvert them, then that's where you lose. And so this is where it's important to, one, again, support your developers. Two, create local economies, circular economies. Again, I'll toss back to what we did this past weekend. We had our SAT market for the second time here in Calgary, and it's just a bunch of Bitcoiners that got together, and we decided, like, listen, it's easy to clamp down on and off ramps. It's hard to clamp down on individuals simply creating relationships with each other. And so, make yourself resilient in the face of draconian overlords. We can do it, but it's going to take a little bit of elbow grease. So get to fucking work.
Beautiful, beautiful rant. I completely agree. And, look to very sophisticated tutorials that show you how to take self-custody and really take back your financial sovereignty, because it's exactly what you said, man. Like, they can roll these out, and I think it's just going to push it underground. I think, you're going to have what you see in the developing world, or they don't really have developed financial rails. So like most of the transactions are happening peer-to-peer over Telegram groups. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they can't stop this, but I saw someone kind of like saying, like, guys, this is overblown. No, it's not. It's not overblown at all. You don't just go from 0 to 100. You start to normalize this idea in people's minds, right? Where like, oh, for some reason, this arbitrary number of 10,000 euros, if you spend 10,001 euros, you're now a criminal, says the bureaucrats, right? Mind you, at the same time, we had Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, asking Tucker Carlson for $1 million to be interviewed in gold Bitcoiner dollars, right? So, they're not following their own, guidelines and whatnot. So anyways, it's effing bullshit. Guys, this was your Simply Sessions. Ben, I will see you next week live from El Salvador.
Cool, man. See you later. All right, everybody, stick around because we got our tech updates coming right now. We're going to cover some of the new stuff to drop this past week. Lots of stuff going on. So I'll pull up my screen here. First up, BTCPay Server version 1.13.0. So a bunch of new features here. They've been shipping a whole bunch of stuff lately, but we're thrilled to announce the release of the new BTCPay Server. This major release introduces several brand new features, improvements, bug fixes, and stands for immediate usage. Server branding and contact options. So server owners now can apply custom name to their server. This functionality complements the previously added capability to upload custom logos, allow for branding and on the user interface. You can have view-only admin overview of all the stores on the instance. You can invite new users to the server via email or link. You can also have new store roles, so managers and employees, so you can make sure that people only have access to the credentials you want. They also have new functionalities for the keypad, point of sale, better Bitcoin QR support. So basically Rodolfo from CoinKite, he's been working on BBQR rather, which is like a far improved QR standard for Bitcoin related stuff. And so they've chose to implement that here, and it helps a lot getting more data into a more condensed space. And yeah, they've got lots more stuff. So kudos to BTCPay for everything they're doing. This is cool in and around Casa. They just launched an inheritance product. And I'll point out the cool thing about it that I quite like. So They said, we're excited to introduce Casa Inheritance, which empowers Casa members on all our latest plans to share vault access with someone they trust to facilitate the generational transfer of digital assets. Our approach to inheritance feels incredibly smooth and familiar. Invite your spouse or a designated recipient to Casa, share keys with them securely via the app. They won't be able to use those keys to sign transactions until you've passed away. Now, this is what I liked. Casa Inheritance is available worldwide without requiring KYC information. This ensures privacy and accessibility for global users. And so the reason I kind of know the reason, I think, why they leaned so hard into that, which is great. First of all, I'll say kudos to Nunchuk for being trendsetters in this direction, having a multi-sig option with inheritance baked in, but being able to do it without having to take ID and all of the private information from the individual setting it up. Now, Casa has been doing some work with the Human Rights Foundation, and because of the sensitive nature of a lot of people that are involved with the Human Rights Foundation and some of the work that they do, and the need to not be easily identified by local governments and all of that, you know, Casa probably had to step back and look and say, like, if we're going to be offering things, you know, and trying to help out in this realm, it's a detriment to the people using it if they're required to produce ID, or in some instances, they may not even have ID to produce. And so, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they offer something like this, but I think involvement with the HRF has kind of opened them up to doing that. Nonetheless, looks cool. Excited for them to have this rolled out. And again, it's just something where you see one entity be a trendsetter, and that causes innovation across other products. And I will say that Nunchuk actively, you know, shared out this information and said congrats to Casa for rolling this out. So I love seeing Bitcoiners lift other Bitcoiners up when they're doing good things. So good for them. Fedi, they just rolled out Fedi Bravo. So their beta. You can now use Fedi with real money. You can play with more mods. You can send and receive funds with your friends. So basically, this is Fedimints, the Fedi app. You can head over to fedi.xyz/builders, and it will have links to be able to download on iPhone, Android, or just the APK file. And basically, they have two different communities that you can use. They have a testnet version where you can play around and just learn how to use Fedi, but they have a live version. And the cool thing about this is this was the Fediment that was used for the Madeira conference. And it was just for the conference initially, but now they've rolled it out, and it's going to be the Fediment for the island of Madeira, or for the Free Madeira project, which is super cool. So what is the trade-off here? Basically, it is effectively community funds in a multi-sig. When you're part of the Fediment, basically all you need to do to fund a wallet is send in a Lightning transaction. Once you're within the Fediment, when you transact with anybody in the mint, transactions are instant, free, and perfectly private. When you send out of the mint, it becomes a regular transaction, a regular Lightning transaction, I should specify. And that regular Lightning transaction, you are getting the benefit of the privacy of the crowd. So there's no indication which person in the mint sent out. And if you're sending into another mint, there's no indication which person within that other mint received. Otherwise, you can just send out to any Lightning wallet. So pretty cool. If you want to play it out, play around with it, download the app. And when it says add a mint, you just scan the free Madeira one, and then you'll be able to receive a regular Lightning transaction into it, and then send and receive Xiaomi and eCash on top of Bitcoin. Pretty cool. I've been playing with it for a bit here. Albi extension version 3.7.0. So this gives Safari browser support. So basically, if you're on Apple, you can now use Albi extension in Safari on iOS, macOS, and iPad. So that's pretty cool. It also has stable sats integration via Blink. They also have permission management, or improved permission management for Nostr. So no more annoying Nostr requests, pop-ups if you want it. They also have better onboarding flows. So no separate Nostr onboarding needed. It's all just kind of baked into one. So kudos on them for the new drop there. This is interesting, and I'm not going to go too deep on it, but a new protocol called Hedgehog. And this is a two-party payment channel system, kind of like Lightning. Channels are similar to Lightning channels, but with a few benefits, such as offline receiver capabilities. So setting up channels and everything doesn't require you, in order to receive, you don't need to be online anymore. So you know how Lightning payments, you need to have an online Lightning node. This is no longer the case. So really cool. There's obviously some trade-offs here, but this is a layer 2 thing that can be done. It does, my understanding is it doesn't require any changes to Bitcoin at all. It can work now. Yeah. And so it's cool. I love seeing stuff like this because it's just new shit that we didn't know was a thing that comes out of nowhere that also scales Bitcoin. So when people worry about Bitcoin scaling, things like this popping up just get me excited because I think that we don't know what we don't know. And to paraphrase an old video by Andreas Antonopoulos, Bitcoin will continue to scale ungracefully. We're going to bump into a wall and then, we'll worry for a little bit and then we'll move past it. And this is what I think we're seeing right now. There's a bit of a wall. We're realizing like, hey, not everybody can have a Lightning channel. Lightning onboarding still requires on-chain transactions, all of these different things that, we have to grapple with over time. And so when fees are high, it's tough to onboard it to self-custodial Lightning. But solutions are being created. There are things that are happening that are promising. So exciting stuff. A couple last things here. This was announced today, and I'm very happy to be a part of this. Alex Gladstein said, thrilled that the Human Rights Foundation is launching a free quarterly webinar to help nonprofits learn how to integrate Bitcoin, led by myself. While designed for human rights groups in difficult political environments and activists at risk, it's going to be very helpful for just about anyone in any sector. Grant givers, grant receivers, etc. Sign up. The sign up form is here. Please share with anyone who might be interested. And yeah, so I've retweeted it. If you want to go check it out, please do. And we're very much looking forward to getting this thing rolling. It's really cool to see people utilize Bitcoin because it makes sense to utilize it. And people are starting to understand that this is a tool that can be used. It's not a silver bullet for everything human rights related, but it's a tool in the tool belt that can help some people in need. And that's great. What else we got here? I did drop a tutorial just the other day on a Bitcoin Well. So they are based in Canada and the US. And they're basically a non-custodial Bitcoin exchange. So you can pretty much send in money. They don't ever hold your Bitcoin for you. It just goes straight out directly into your designated wallet of choice. And it was actually a very quick tutorial because it's very quick to do. So it's probably one of my shortest tutorials in quite some time. I think it's like 10 or 12 minutes. So if you want to check it out, it is on the channel now. And then, of course, coming up, I'm heading, as me and Nico were alluding to, I'm heading down to El Salvador. I'm flying out on Monday. So I'm going to be down there for the week. Very excited for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm down there for the halving party. If we're waffling on going to the halving party and you do want to go, of course, you can head to my website, btcsessions.ca. There's an events section, and there's details there about where you can grab tickets for that. I think I have a code. I forget if it's BTC Sessions or Sessions. One of those. Try them both. It'll get you a discount if you haven't got tickets yet. And then coming soon, I'm going to be going to the Canadian Bitcoin Conference in Montreal, the Oslo Freedom Forum in Norway, and BTC Prague. Those are the next ones on the docket. And there will be others coming soon as well. But hopefully I'll see you down in El Salvador. Let me know if you're going. And again, just head to my website and go to the events section for any of those. And then finally, tomorrow, very excited. We're going to have, speaking of Bitcoin, we're having Adam O'Brien, CEO, on. We're also having Jeff Walton. He was just on Preston Pish's show, and he killed it there. And of course, Tatum classing up the joint with with that picture. But nonetheless, very excited to have all of them. It'll be a good time. So make sure you come back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time to join us for Why Are We Bullish? So with that, I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
HodlHodl the Bitcoin.